I do want to hear your story, though, Lisa. I really do.
I got good stories, man. I had a fantastic day to say Senior Bowl until the end of the Senior Bowl, and then it sucked.
Oh, it's so good. I know. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome. You caught a little chance of or piece of our conversation that we always have at the beginning of each show. Welcome. I am Dana OG. This is the Our Tour Football Podcast. I am joined by Lisa Johnson, and Sonia's coming back here in just a second. She was having a little bit of camera problems, so she'll be back here in just a minute. But last week I said, "Oh my God, I'm tired. I'm tired." I kept saying how tired I was. I'm way more tired today. Holy cow. Today has been absolutely crazy. We had a plan for this show. It might have gone out the window a little bit, but we're still going to try and get all the stuff in that we wanted to talk about beforehand. So, all right. So we're going to bring Sonia in. It doesn't look like her camera is still not working. So, but Sonia, can we hear you?
I think you can still hear me, right?
You can still hear you. Sonia.
Okay, fantastic. So, you just can't see my beautiful face. I'm working on it, though, guys.
See her for sure. All right. So before we get started, we want to, of course, tell you about our sponsor. Lisa, give us all the rundown on these.
Oh, I'll tell you what, and talk about blizzard and snow up there. How about
5 inches tomorrow?
Oh my goodness. And I've kept in touch with the folks at Donkey's Cheesesteaks, and they're open when they can. They tell about be patient, but they got those hot, nice, juicy, big cheesesteaks. 3 locations: Camden, Medford, and Mount Holly. So you wanted the best cheesesteak in the New Jersey area, hit Donkey's Cheesesteak.
Do it.
1, 2, and 3.
We are so grateful to Donkeys for sponsoring our podcast for the entire season. We are hugely grateful for that. Okay, everybody, let's just go. Lisa. So for those who don't know, Lisa is actually down at the Reese's Senior Bowl. She's covered the Senior Bowl for us for the last, 4 years now, Lisa? It's been a long time.
It's been a while, yeah.
But today was a little hard for her because she was trying to pay attention to a practice with our sweet friend Connie, and not so very much happened. What is the born identity? I don't know what that means. But we got
breaking news.
So Brian Flores is pissed, Lisa. I know you haven't had a chance to read over it. I know a little bit about the actual suit, but you tell me what you saw. Lisa is also, she's a Dolphins fan. She's our Dolphins reporter. So tell us where you're at with this, Lisa.
Well, honestly, I had to read real quick, like you said, because it was breaking at the Senior Bowl, and you could see everybody looking at their phones. It was amazing. And then the chatter started, and so of course I was hanging with Connie Goldberg, the first female scout for the New York Jets, which was really great. We got to kind of talk about it a little bit. She was actually reading it for me while I was still doing some scouting and watching practice, and so she read up on it. We started talking about it. And there's just a couple things that bother me as far as like the whole lawsuit thing goes. I think the racist type part is more directed towards maybe the Giants and the Broncos part of it, because we have a black GM. We've had black coaches. You get to the part where the tank for Tua came in, and we have an owner that's flying a player that's under contract.
Right. Oh my God. Everyone's talking about who that quarterback is. We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Yes. Onto his yacht, summons his head coach to his yacht. And apparently, according, I believe that, hopefully I have this right. I'm just going by, like I said, I've not honestly read the whole thing, guys. So I'm just trying to kind of piece this together from people that were reading it to me. Apparently that Flores is saying that he was taken back, that when he sat down with this quarterback that was still under contract, it was tampering. It upset him. And apparently that was just the icing on the cake, because now we come to find out that the tank for Tua year was something that the owner wanted us not to win a game, and apparently went to Brian Flores and directed him and bribed him, allegedly offering him $100,000 per game he lost.
Right.
That's disturbing to me. The racism part, I don't think I've been around this organization, guys, for my entire childhood, and the media I think the media aspect of it is, God, I think we're going on 10 years, Dana, almost 10 years.
God, yeah, make me feel old, but it's been 10. This was our last one was our 10th season.
So I've been around them, and I've never seen any of that. The other stuff, however, is something that I think Stephen Ross is going to have to answer for. And if it's proven, then everybody that I kind of had run into as we were going to the parking lot to exit it, a lot of the, team executives said that there's no doubt that he should sell the team, that this is probably going to, I know you're shaking.
I don't trust it. I know, Lisa, I know. Okay. Let me talk about, and then I'm going to let you in here. One, they're not going to make Ross sell the team because they never make Dan Snyder sell his team. I don't believe it until I see it. I just won't. I just think that they don't do that, which is annoying. Lisa, I will say the biggest thing for me, and the racism part of it is part of this. And this is where it comes in. It doesn't have to do with the $100,000 a loss. It doesn't have to do the tampering with the quarterback. What it has to do with, from everything that I have read, and I will tell you, the first thing I did was start looking up all of the reporters that I follow that are of color. And because I'm like, I want to see what they say. I want to, Steve Weiss, the first place I went, Jim Trotter, I went to go see their opinion on this. And it's all the same. The sentiment is the same. Is that, so I'm not trying to act like, I'm some brilliant person here. I went to these people to look, and what it is, Lisa, it's the fact that he gave you the first 2 winning seasons in a row in 20 years, and they fired him anyway because they don't like his attitude. He was the Giants part of it is a huge, huge thing. They don't get the leeway that white coaches get. And that's a big part of this. So it's not just the Dolphins. This is a league-wide issue. And anyone who says it isn't is absolutely insane, right? Because it is. You can just look. It's so obvious to me. I understand that people don't want that to be true about their teams, and I understand it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I get where the Giants fans are very up in arms right now. They're like, don't come after my team. Well, you have to look at the history of these things. These are very wealthy, white, older men. And so you can't say it doesn't exist. But I will say this. The thing with the Broncos didn't seem like as big of a deal to me. He came in, he was hungover. Okay, John Elway, hungover. That's not going to shock anybody. Disrespectful to a 10th degree, 100% for Brian Flores. Right. Totally disrespectful to Brian Flores. But I will tell you that the tampering allegations and the $100,000 loss, that is what is going to get more attention from the league. I wish the rest of it would get attention from the league, but I just don't trust them to do it. Sonia, when you read this, were you surprised at all?
No. I mean, it sounds kind of bad, but I really wasn't. I think the thing is, this is what I thought of when I saw the tanking thing. And, Flores had the first back-to-back winning season, still gets canned. If he had tanked for real, do you think that they would have kept him? I think that this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. No. And, tons of people would have called for his head, and the pressure would have been on Steve Ross to make changes, especially if they tanked tanked, they get him and then they don't win. You know what I'm saying? So that it's just a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. And, the Dolphins is a separate issue. That's what they're going to focus on. But you're right. The Rooney Rule, if you will, isn't working. And and it's hard to figure out a way to make it more equitable and make it more, quote unquote diverse, I guess. But it's just hard to figure it out. What do you do so you don't wind up with a situation like this, but also are giving consideration to truly the best talent, and including minority head coaches and minority people.
Mm-hmm. And I think that Brian Flores has every right to put that in his lawsuit, because I think that it to most people, it's pretty obvious. You can nitpick each individual situation that he talks about, but I think that overall, no one's going to argue that that's not an issue in the NFL.
Right.
But I do think, Lisa, you were as shocked as we were when he got fired. We were like, what? Brian Flores? And they're like, well, he has a bad attitude.
Because he didn't want to go lock in step with what's his face.
Right. If he doesn't want to take, and if I'm correct, Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
the season that he's talking about tanking for, he wanted the first spot so he could get Joe Burrow. I think
Exactly.
Joe Burrow was that one.
Yes,
And
it's just starting to come out that that's who Ross really wanted was Burrow. And apparently it was instructed, from what I'm reading and hearing about, was that was going to be the plan. So it's just so bizarre, because to try to have your team go 0-16 and purposely, and then to bribe a head coach with money to lose those games. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say. I mean,
Right.
I'm stunned, because
that's shocking.
As a Dolphin fan right now, it's shameful. I mean, it's how do you, I mean, and even as a media person, how do you want to cover a team like this? Really? Where's the integrity? Where's the, I mean, what about those guys that are in the locker room? Those 53 guys that are in the locker room? I mean, how can you accept a bribe and then, and it's kind of bizarre, because at that point it's like, why wouldn't you as a head coach, when you got a bribe like that, say, you know what, I'm done? I mean, that's weird too, to me. It's like, now that he's fired, he comes out with this. I mean, to me, it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's like, I don't know. It's like, what did he just do? Say no? And then apparently Greer said, oh, Steve was really upset and mad that
yeah,
it's all weird. It's all kind of, bizarre on that kind of state.
Well, Lisa, you've said before that Ross he's a weird owner, that he's not, I mean, and so I will tell you that if everything that was said in that, and I read 90% of the legal brief, because it did get a little long, 56 pages.
Right, yeah.
If it was everything that was said in there, if even half of it's true, there's a bunch of people that should get in a whole lot of trouble. But I have a feeling that there's probably, because what does he have to gain? What does Flores have to gain? They're going to end up.
He literally said that he will sacrifice his career for this.
Yeah.
Because it needs to be called to attention. So he literally has nothing to gain from this. Not monetarily, not anything.
Katie says weird is generous. He sounds like an asshole. Kind of.
He kind of does.
Disagree with you.
But he has literally nothing to gain. And
so Florence, he has nothing to gain there. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens to it. I like Brian Flores. I was all in, and I got just murdered on my Seahawks podcast I do with all those boys, because I'm like, here's what needs to happen. We need to hire Brian Flores as our defensive coordinator, so then Seattle can tell him he can be head coach in 2 years when Pete retires, because I'm all in on that. And they're like, Dana, shut up. And I'm like, no, I'm all in on that. I think that would be great. So I think that'll be really interesting. I think it'll be interesting to see where and if he lands, because if not, I mean, people are out there like he's going to end up like Colin Kaepernick, and he's prepared for that. He seems to be prepared for that. So hot breaking news. And you know who I feel bad for in all of this? Tom Brady. Okay, I don't know if it's bad for Tom Brady, but just let me say this. Adam Schefter pulled the rug out from under him, announced his retirement before he got to. And then everyone had to backtrack. Oh, no, he's not really going to retire, so that he could then put out a statement saying he was going to retire. And then what happens the day he retires? Brian Flores comes in and takes a news cycle from him. Cracks me up in kind of not a nice way. But I'm just saying, I feel bad for Tom Brady. It's the last time I will ever say that again and for the rest of my life, just so you know. But the great Tom Brady is leaving the NFL. I have a feeling we will never truly be rid of him. He will be on the TV all the time, which is fine and dandy. But is anyone surprised that he decided to retire on a year he didn't win a Super Bowl? Why would he come back and play one more time? Sonia, I want to start with you. Did that surprise you?
No, it really didn't. I think he felt that maybe this really was it. He started to, do a lot of stuff off the field a little bit more this year. And it just looked like these past 2 years in Tampa Bay, he's just been having fun. And so I think he's just kind of, he probably just didn't have it in him this last little bit. And, why go out? There's no guarantee that he was going to win again next year. And so why go out looking really, really bad when you had an MVP year? You were that close to making it to the Super Bowl, and So I think he was done. I don't think he was going to come back.
Yeah, Lisa. Your nemesis is gone. Are you so happy?
I was, and the thing is, I kind of liked Tom when he went to Tampa. Because we even said that it was just like, for how many years he, and we kind of talked about him a little bit today before a lot of that thing, because I mean he doesn't have anything to prove, honestly. I mean it pains you to say, but he literally he's the GOAT. I mean he's got it to prove it, and you talk to people that have played with him. Apparently he was a great teammate, great leader. I mean he was the epitome of a quarterback that everybody's searching for. Like I said, I think Chef did kind of pull the plug. I think he wanted to do it on his own, but that's who, that's your circle. Sorry, somebody ratted you out. So, but he'll be, known as the greatest quarterback to ever play the game right now. So,
I have an issue with that, Lisa.
I don't know how you can. He's got 7 rings. How do you argue with that?
Because
you can't.
You can. You guys know my issue. He is the greatest of this era. So GOTE, greatest of the era. You cannot compare the way they play football now compared to the way they did back in the 70s. No. And so he can't be the greatest quarterback of all time because he wouldn't have survived playing against the 1980 Raiders. He wouldn't have survived. They would have broken his leg halfway through a season. I mean, seriously, come on. We all know that. I'm just saying. So, you have to keep that in mind. Is he the GOAT, GOTE, greatest of this era, the common era? And I mean the whole time he's been playing.
Yeah, because I mean he's goes how many eras? He's
the whole generation. Yeah. But you have to then go back. And so I think you take that into account. You could even say he's the greatest since the mid-90s if you wanted to, which I think now will make Michelle mad because she just said Joe Montana.
Well, she just said Joe, but what would Joe Montana and Dan Marino and them do in this era of not being able right?
Who knows? Because they can't run and they're not quick enough. And so, I mean, that's just it. They're different athletes now. So it's not that I'm saying he's not the greatest. I just don't like the way they spell GOAT. It's not of all time. It's greatest of the era, GOTE. That's just my opinion. But I will say this. I think most people have come around to this Tom Brady. They enjoyed this version of Tom Brady out from underneath Bill Belichick. And can I say, there was not one mention of the Patriots or New England in that retirement letter. Now, I know there's this thing that I swear to God. So, Sonia, was that you that said, he'll sign a one-day contract?
Yeah.
Oh, I think he will too. I absolutely think he'll retire a Patriot. I do.
But here's the thing: in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you don't retire under a team.
But that's not about principle. It's just like with us. Yeah.
As a Patriot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's an afterthought. I'm not kidding because he didn't write anything about New England in that at all. And then like 4 hours later, then the rumor was sent out. Oh, he's going to do something special for New England. That's because he pissed them all off when he didn't even mention him in retirement.
No, I think he's had something in the works. I mean, I don't think he's that much of a douche that he would totally crap on the Patriots.
I think he
literally he couldn't. Like they're the ones that truly made him.
But yeah, his career was there.
I was about to say he can't really do that to them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I agree. He has to do something, but it cracked me up. I did giggle a little. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, poor Bill.
And you know what he's gonna do it? He'll do it on like a Monday night or a Thursday night game where they'll either be playing my team or they'll be playing another team, and they'll be all hyped up, and they'll get
playing the
Bills.
They'll
just foul whoever they're playing because the momentum and the fans are gonna go crazy. Because they'll retire his number, they'll put him in the ring, they'll do all this hoopla for him, and of course it'll probably be the Dolphins, and they'll probably slam us.
Maybe. So now my question to you guys is, who the hell's the quarterback in Tampa Bay? Aaron Rodgers?
Ooh.
Please say no.
I think he wants to go west. He wants to go with his girlfriend out in Hollywood, so I think he's going west.
To where?
I think he's going to go to the Broncos.
That's not west. That's Midwest. That's not west.
That's west to me. I mean, come on.
That's west.
No, yeah, I think that'll be interesting. I think that because that wasn't really. I mean, I'm assuming that some people assumed he might or thought he might retire, but it wasn't really out there in the conversation of who needs a quarterback, right? And so I think that'll be. But I don't think they're going to want to draft one this year. Right?
What I watched today, good luck.
Lisa, be nice.
Lisa.
Dude, this is a weak class.
Let me tell you, Bruce Arians is not this stupid, John. He is not that stupid. That kid is not going to play football. I'm just telling you right now.
I mean, you got to start looking at your list. And honestly, I hate to say it, but and I, talked about it today a little bit, is if you go with coaching matters, like I said, I think a lot of these quarterbacks, because let's use Josh Allen as an example. Year 2, Buffalo was ready to put him on, and then coaching came in and it turned him around. I think a lot of teams should look at Mitchell Trubisky. I really do. The kid's got a great arm. He's, with great coaching, I think the kid could be. Yeah. You'll have Jimmy Garoppolo out there. Yep, Gardner Minshew. I mean, there's going to be a couple filled spots, and there's going to be, teams. And then, like you said, we can't even talk about the New Orleans Saints because they're just a train wreck.
Well, that brings up Graham's point. So who's the quarterback in any of the NFC South next year? That's a really good question.
Really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Really is. I mean, who do you have guaranteed? I mean, there's Sam Darnold, right? And then Matt
Ryan. I think Matty Ice is only.
Well, Cam Newton's still out there, guys. Cam hasn't. We got Cam Newton floating around.
Agreed. No, I'm saying currently right now, under contract type thing. So you got Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
Don't get me started. So I think that I don't know. I mean, Jameis really is an option. I mean, I was making fun of John, but it's kind of true. You know what I mean? I don't think he's going to start football. I think he'll play. I don't think he'll start. But you never know. Some of these teams.
Yeah. They're going to be desperate to me.
But are they going to be Deshaun Watson?
Desperate.
I don't think that kid's going to play at all either. Anyway, okay. So, yes, we're going to save that for the offseason, people. We got lots of time to talk about those certain things. But so kudos to you, Tom Brady. I put a tweet out there that was actually very popular that said, thank you for being our villain for 22 years. Because really, that's what he was. He was the villain of the NFL if you weren't a Patriots fan. And it made it more fun because it made it lots of fun when people beat him. And then Eli Manning's video today that basically
I missed Eli's video. I saw it, but I was going to come back.
I heard about it. I didn't see anything.
So Eli Manning basically says, thanks for sharing a couple of those Super Bowls with me because we know his 2 Super Bowls that he won. He beat Tom Brady. So that was pretty fun. I love that they can joke about that stuff now. And then someone said he should be on the Manning cast. Yeah, I think we will. I think we're going to see Tom Brady.
Oh, for sure.
So that's going to be super fun. So let's talk about those conference games for just a minute. Let's start with the Rams and the Niners. Obviously, I was pretty interested in that, being an NFC West fan. I truly thought San Francisco was going to end up winning that game. They have just had the Rams' number for so long. 6 games in a row they had beaten them. So I think I was a little surprised. But what I watched when I watched this game, which is probably different than you guys, is the way the NFC plays each other. They beat the ever-loving tar out of each other. And neither team plays particularly well when they play each other, which I think is a good thing. I love the NFC West. But
they know each other so well.
Yeah, it's true. It's just true. And Shanahan usually just has McVay's number. And like I said, the rock, paper, scissors things to you guys, that's just how it works here. And so I found it really interesting. But Sonia, I want to start with you.
Yeah.
You have your Matt Stafford. He was your Lions quarterback. He's now going to the Super Bowl with the Rams. Are you seeing the same Matt Stafford in LA that you saw with the Lions all those years, and he just never had the pieces around him?
No, I see a person who is having a little bit more fun. I hate to say it, but he's having a little bit more fun out there. And I mean, him and Cooper Kupp just had like this chemistry. I don't know. It was really great to watch. I mean, everybody's like, well, he had Calvin Johnson. Like, how could he not make something happen? And he did have Calvin, and, he broke Calvin's fingers all the time. He didn't really break Cooper Kupp. So I don't know. It's just something. He's having fun. He's throwing the ball. He's loose. I think McVay is really kind of working with him and designing things for him to really play to his strengths. We never really had that too much in Detroit. So I've kind of seen just like a happier, go-lucky Matthew Stafford, if you will.
Yeah.
Stafford had less weight on him, Michelle. He did.
Yeah, that's for sure. The other thing too, I think, is that to that point, if he didn't make it, he didn't make it. He'd already done better than he'd ever done before.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that kind of pressure, I think, would be off to a certain extent. Now, it's not a lot of pressure that's coming off because the Rams' window is this big, people. Their window of opportunity for the Super Bowl is this big. They have $1 million in cap space next year. One. So there's going to be lots of mixing and moving next year. So this is truly one of their only times. Although I say as long as Aaron Donald's on their team, they have a chance. So, but Lisa, did you get a chance to watch this whole game?
When I wasn't sleeping,
I know.
in between snooze fest, and it was funny because we actually, Connie and I actually met a couple of the Detroit Lions assistants today, and they actually, as we were sitting there, asked her for an interview. And so I was sitting there, and the Lions lady asked if I would like to go along, and I was like, sure, I'd love to. So we went up there, and we were getting her set up so they could do their interview, and a couple of the other the Lions executives came over, and so I started chit-chatting them about Matthew Stafford, and it was the same thing. I said, "Are you guys happy for him?" and stuff like that, and then a lot of them were Lions fans. They're like, absolutely happy. And so the one lady looked at me, and she goes, "Well, what do you think? He just couldn't do it for the Lions." I said, "I'm going to tell you right now, and it pains me to say this, these girls are going to kill me on the podcast tonight, but the one thing I think Matthew Stafford didn't have was a defense. And I think that's your biggest difference."
Michelle,
I
did you hear
honestly,
her? Michelle in the comments, did you hear her?
I know. And everybody looked at me, and the one girl goes, "Yo, you're absolutely right." Because what's the one thing Matthew didn't have? He had Calvin Johnson. They were putting up 30 points a game, but their defense was and I said, that's the one thing Matthew has not had the privilege of a defense. He's never had an Aaron Donald. He's never had a Von Miller.
Right.
It's always been that one player. It's always been, we had that. You had that one linebacker, Sonia. I'm sorry, I forgot his name. He was tremendous, but he was one player. Now you have a whole group. Oh, geez, I knew. Now you have Ramsey. Honestly, I think Matthew Stafford's difference is his defense. I think he's finally got a defense.
I think that's a really good point, Lisa, because you said the word defense multiple times, and that makes my heart really happy. But also that it's true because it takes some of that pressure off. Like Sonia said before, he just doesn't have the weight of the world on his shoulders. He could take he knew that he wasn't going to have to put up 10,000 points because he didn't have to, do that. So that could be really true. I really found it interesting. On the flip side, San Francisco, their defense is phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to give them credit. Their defense is good. I was surprised.
I know. They look really good against everyone but Russell Wilson. I don't know. Russell Wilson beats them all the time, but I don't know what it is. But it's the NFC West. It's how it works. But what was interesting with me is that we all knew going into this that this game, at least us who cover the NFC West, this game was going to make or break. Jimmy, I almost called him Colin Kaepernick. Jimmy Garoppolo's tenure with the San Francisco 49ers. And he gave them a reason to trade him this year. Now, they probably would have done it anyway. But how do you trade a quarterback that gets you to the Super Bowl? That would have been a much harder conversation. But throwing an interception to end a game, now we can fire you. Now we can get rid of you. And they're already talking about it today. They're looking for trade partners. He knows he's not staying, and they're going to run with Trey Lance. So once again, now we have to see what the 49ers, how big their window is, because they have this rookie quarterback and this great defense, which usually is a pretty good recipe for doing well, unless your rookie quarterback is not that good, which we don't know that about Trey Lance yet because we haven't gotten to see him play very much. The interesting thing to me about this is that I was glad it was a defensive game, which Lisa hated, but after what we saw in the early game, the AFC Championship game, which we're going to talk about here in just a minute, I was excited to see that, especially for the NFC West, that defense was so good. All right, so let's switch now to the AFC Championship. You had the Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, once again, who I think has taken the villain crown from Tom Brady. Now, there's lots of people who like him. But if he keeps winning, they're going to hate him. They already were happy that the Chiefs weren't in the Super Bowl. So poor kid, I think you won that crown. Probably didn't want it, but
I think his brother helped. But go ahead.
And his wife, man, she's right with him.
telling you off air, we're going to have a conversation. So anyway, so I agree with you guys both. But so interestingly enough, the Chiefs were really, by the sound of it, favored. But when you went to like the line, like the betting line, they weren't heavily favored. I think it was just like by 7 points or something. Like it wasn't huge. And I think that that's because what we saw out of the Cincinnati Bengals in the game before was so impressive that they started to then worry about whether or not Kansas City was going to get too full of themselves. And you know what I saw, ladies? I saw Kansas City do exactly what the San Francisco 49ers did when they played them in the Super Bowl, the year Kansas City won their Super Bowl, is they decided they won at halftime.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That is true.
Off the gas. That's
18 points. 18 points. You know, they were up 18.
By the time they figured out, oh shit, we still have to finish this game, it was too late. All the momentum had shifted to the Bengals. Mm-hmm. Lisa, how much do you love Joe Burrow right now?
I loved it. I loved that whole game. I did. I love that whole game. And the thing is with that is, you know, in conversations that you have with people, it's the same thing. You look at the Rams defense, because you look at this, to me, it's offense against defense. This is the epitome of the games that we all argue about, because honestly, let's it's all offense for the Bengals, you know, and it was all Burrow. I mean, look at the game before. He was sacked, 6 times, 8 times? I mean, and so it's like, even they get to him, you have to get to him every quarter. You have to have 60 minutes of pressure on that kid. You can't have 8 sacks and let them win. It's unfathomable. Come on. But kudos to the Cincinnati Bengals defensive coordinator who made the adjustments and started keeping those and one of the things that I noticed that he did was they didn't rush past Patrick. They stayed back. So they didn't let him go side to side. Like, you know, they were letting him before. You know, they were trying to get a rush up the field, and as soon as they pass him, he's gone. Mm-hmm. So it seemed like at that last thing, when you go back and you look at the tape, it looks like they had their defensive guys, their edge rushers, rush, but still contain him. Mm-hmm.
And they never gave up. That was what, Sonia, was so impressive to me. Mm-hmm. They were down and down ugly, and they were like, we have a game. You don't win this game until the fourth quarter. And they changed their whole scheme. But I think a huge part of that was stopping that touchdown to end the half.
Yes.
I think Graham just said that. Graham said that too. I mean, I had just tweeted to Alan, my friend. I said, well, they'll at least get 3. How big is that 3 points now even?
Yep. Huge. Mm-hmm. Huge.
Yep. Perfect. I'm right with Graham. I thought the same thing. And that was on Mahomes, because you heard Reed
you're behind him.
What? Yeah, all day long.
Crazy.
All day
Sonia,
long.
what did you think of that game? Did you did you guys both pick the Chiefs to win? Oh no, Sonia, you weren't there.
I picked the Chiefs.
I wasn't there, but I thought the Chiefs were going to win.
Yeah.
I thought that the Bengals were just going to, that it wasn't still right for Joe Burrow, but he proved me wrong. He proved me wrong big time.
You're not wrong, though, because big lights, big game. Arrowhead is intimidating to young teams. Okay. So I could see why you thought that. All right. Yeah, that was a fun game. They were 2 very different games. I think the divisional round was a little better. I think we all can agree those games are a little more exciting, but still came down to the last bit. That field goal by the Bengals, I was just standing in my living room like, my work is going to be a complete shit show tomorrow. It's going to be so bad. And they were not happy.
People are going to be upset.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I got it all at work. God love the Chiefs fans that I work with, but they were not happy. But so looking at the Super Bowl now, next week, we're actually going to dive pretty deeply into the Super Bowl and the, what we think the strengths and that sort of thing. But is this, in your mind, Sonia, I'm going to start with you. Is this a quote unquote good Super Bowl? Do you think that one team is more heavily favored than the other? How are you feeling about this matchup?
Right now, I don't know if either one is heavily favored. I know a lot of people are all excited because, the Rams are hosting it. So, they're going to be back at home. But I don't know. I'm kind of thrilled for the Bengals. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because we have that long drought in common, sort of. thing. But I'm really excited for the Bengals that they made it.
There's hope, Sonia, right?
There's
a
hope.
light at your tunnel. It's
There's
like, okay,
light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
Hopefully Dan can get us there, right? But no, I feel really good about this Super Bowl. It's just going to be fun, you know. There's no Brady, there's no Patrick Mahomes. It's two new quarterbacks that have never been. It's just going to be about fun for me. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think so too. I have to put this up here because it made me laugh. Mahomes and Rodgers do a State Farm commercial about saying that's hilarious, John.
That's
nice
true.
So interesting. I look at this. I'm all in Bengals. All in Bengals. Why? Because I don't want the Rams to win crap. But the other side of me, Lisa, Aaron Donald and Von Miller. I mean, Von Miller has won a Super Bowl, but Aaron Donald deserves a ring.
Mm-hmm.
He's been the best player in football for so long. I wouldn't be heartbroken to see him and Matt Stafford. I don't really have anything against him. I have something against their coach, but I think that would be good. But I mean, how can you not be all in on this? I call them the baby Bengals. This is a young team. It's so fun.
They are. It's fun to watch, and it's gonna be a great matchup. Like I said, to me, it's defense against offense. It really is. That's how I'm kind of matching it up, because you know the Bengals are all offense, and the Rams, like you said, Von Miller, Aaron Donald, Ramsey. And they're hungry. All these guys are, because, and like Sonia said, it makes it exciting because these are our first time guys. They both teams want to win this so bad. Mm-hmm. So I think it's going to be great to watch. It's hard to call. I mean, it's almost, I could flip a coin almost, because I just don't, because like I said, you can still sack Burrows 8 times and you can still win. Yeah. It just doesn't, you can't just put all your eggs in the basket. I mean, you're going to have to, have some strategy with your defense. You're going to have to get some turnovers, and special teams going to be big. Huge. Because it could come down. It could be a snooze fest for the first couple, quarters, but then that fourth quarter, if it's anywhere near what we think it's going to be, your kickers, your punters, and we talk about punting. I saw your tweet today about punting, because I was watching that punter, not a lot, but I was watching. He was booming some kicks, so I was like, wow, okay. So, but special teams is huge. That field position could be coming to play. So, but I'm with Sonia. I think it's going to be exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Right.
For once, I'm actually looking forward to it.
Right. So Graham put out their Bengals show that they can shut down a high-powered offense. Chase versus Ramsey will be great. That's going to be so fun to watch.
Yes.
It's going to be so fun to watch. But I think that's right. We talk about the Bengals offense, but really their defense stopped Patrick Mahomes for almost an entire half. And I think that is an amazing feat. So I think that it could be fun. Well, we're going to dig more into that next week. We're going to kind of really dig into it and look at the different matchups and how we think that they're going to end up. I want to end tonight's show, Lisa. I want to give you a few minutes. I want you to talk about the Senior Bowl. So Lisa, for those of you who joined us late, Lisa is at the Reese's Senior Bowl. She is covering that for us, as she has for the past about 4 years now. And this is your wheelhouse, Lisa. You love this. You love these college kids. Yes. You love to see them coming up. I did tweet at Lisa what she was referencing earlier, because there was this tweet that said there was great punters in this group. Like, there's fantastic kickers there. And I'm like, Lisa, punters are people too, because she thinks they have one job. But so that was the joke. But Lisa, what did you see today?
Well, I saw a lot of punters, and it's not the best draft we've had coming out. So, I mean, quarterback wise, it's just average. That as far as projections are concerned, they're actually saying that we're not going to have a first round quarterback this year. Sam Howell, to me, was the best quarterback today. Out of North Carolina, he had some nice balls. First days are always always just a lot of getting used to each other and stuff like that was great. But man, those line play today in the trenches, there is a big boy named Darian Kennard, and keep that name, because that kid is a beast. And I spent a lot of time on linemen today, obviously, because we're in need of some very bad. And I saw some great play in the trenches. So there's some great linemen coming, great edge rushers. Florida State, Jermaine Johnson, another name for you guys to look out for. That kid's going to make some noise. And Connie and I were kind of joking with each other because we both want him. He's a premier. And we were laughing because we're like, we got to keep him under wraps. We can't say anything. Of course, the first thing Connie sees the tweet is on Jermaine Johnson and how his expectations are going to skyrocket. So linebacker, edge rushers, offensive, defensive line, I think is going to be more of this draft for you to look at. A couple little good running backs, the SEC boys, the American, they look fantastic. The American team looks great. I mean, but it's going to be a fun Senior Bowl. I saw Jim Nagy today. I know he's super excited. A lot of the coaches and stuff in town, of course, none for the Dolphins. So we don't know. And then that happened. So, but it's been great. And like I said, it's day 2 tomorrow. So I'll be back out there. I got some great pictures. I'll start posting here in a little bit. Got some great shots of some guys. So there's going to be, some of these guys that don't make some noise, but, some of the names to look for. Like I said, I think Hal's right now the best quarterback you have going into it. But, linebackers, edge rushers, and offensive linemen are going to be the stout draft this year for me.
The other college news, Sonia, I'm gonna send this one to you, is the fact that Jim Harbaugh is going for a second interview to the Minnesota Vikings. Being a Michigan girl, how you feeling about that?
Somebody just tweeted out, if you love a Harbaugh, you let him go. And if he comes back, you know what you got to do. So basically, if his heart isn't here, if he feels that he did his job, then okay, go ahead. Is it going to make me feel a little sad? A little bit, but hopefully we'll get over it. I've heard that there is a lot of issues on the Michigan end of things, which I can kind of understand. But if he wants to go back to the NFL and, hopefully he does a good job there. And it sounds like if they offer him, he's going to take the Vikings position, which, okay, cool. Congratulations, John.
Jim.
No, John in our comments.
Oh, John. Okay, yeah. I forgot John.
Yeah,
I forgot about John.
But if he doesn't really want to hire about. I mean, I would be.
Oh, okay.
I would feel kind of bad, but also if he wants to go back to the NFL, go back to the NFL.
Do it. Right.
Do what you got to do.
Yeah. So I have a long-standing issue with Evil Harbaugh, because that is what I call him. I never call him by his first name. But having him back in the NFL make me real happy, because his temper tantrums are great.
They're gone.
100% beautiful temper tantrums.
They are gone.
I love them. I miss them, and I'm excited to.
No, I'm saying, like, you probably won't see them again. They're gone. Right. That is what we have wanted from him for a long time. Yeah,
I agree. I didn't see any.
Not thrown temper tantrums. He has not said a word. I think a couple years ago in the Michigan-Ohio game, he cost his team. And I think he either learned his lesson or he started on some medication or something. But he has not been that person. He has not been that person.
That makes me so sad. It's the only reason I want him to come back to the NFL.
But it's true.
He's good. He's good Harbaugh now.
He's good Harbaugh. And, he means well. Every now and then he'll drop a little something, but he's not the same. He's not that same person. And I don't know.
Those meds are working great.
I was about to say either that or maybe it's just because he, college. But he's not that fiery, NFL guy. Yeah.
Right, Katie? Right.
Not the guy that shook Jim Schwartz's hand. Not that guy. He's not that person anymore.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, that was.
All right, y'all. I gotta go pick up my kid.
All right, everybody. So that is our show for tonight. We will be back next Tuesday, and we're going to do a little deeper dive into the Super Bowl. We're also going to get into the cap conversation we were going to have tonight, but that Brian Flores bumped. And so we're going to get into that next week and let you know which one of your teams is a desperate need for some cash, like desperate. I'm looking at you, New Orleans Saints.
Look at you, Saints.
Right here on YouTube.
Tune in. We're talking to you.
Eastern time next Tuesday. We'll see you then. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, guys. Everybody.